Welcome to Ask the Pro. I'm Chris Dufay, and this is where I'm here to give you what's needed to create the online business, the money, and importantly, the freedom that you want. The Ask the Pro show has been upgraded, and it's also got a new home, which is turningproacademy.com. Now, if you go to turningproacademy.com, all the podcast episodes, video episodes, and in-depth articles are there waiting for you right now. Plus, if you go to turningproacademy.com/start here, then you can get access to the free coaching guides. So if you want to know how to double or triple your clients in just a few weeks, or if you want to know how to start and grow your online business, be sure to go to turningproacademy.com/start here to get access to it now. Welcome to Ask the Pro. I'm Chris Dufay, and this is where I'm giving you what's needed to create the online business, the money, the freedom, and the life that you want. And in this episode, I am seriously pumped to share this with you right now. I've just finished recording with Mark, and now I'm recording the introduction for you, and I am blown away with what you're about to go into. I'm bringing on Mark Buckley from FMA Strength Institute, and we get deep into what I know all us trainers, coaches, and health professionals need to know and understand to be the best we can be, to get the best results with our clients, and to truly achieve what we want each individually. Now, to get Mark taking you through a free coaching session, which he's actually going to be able to do, we organize this after we actually just finished off the interview. You can go to fmastrengthinstitute.com/free, and you're going to have a full online workshop to have Mark walk you through how to finely tune you as a trainer to be able to get the best results with your clients. Also, full disclosure, I actually got approached by FMA to be their marketing strategist, and after chatting with Mark, I happily took on the role, as I believe this is what trainers need, and I wish I had it when I first started in the trenches as well. So what's great is this episode gives you some real what you can walk away with and use. I've been asked to be head of marketing for multiple companies now, and I've turned them all down as it was never anything what I believed in, but I'm really happy to share this with you. Also, this episode is brought to you thank you to my other nutrition and fitness company, My Body Blend. So if you want the high grade nutrition and supplements that are designed to give you what your body needs and to make your life simple, and the expert coaching, head on over to mybodyblends.com. Also, if you think you are good enough to come on board as an ambassador to get the special rates and have your clients taking the products you trust and you earn the rewards from, then be sure to head on over to mybodyblends.com and apply. Now, if you are loving this, then share and pay the respects with what you could really putting a smile on my dial. Also, if I read out your review from iTunes, all you need to do is get in contact with me, and I'm going to give you free access into the online fitness business blueprint, which is going to be saving you hundreds of dollars, but more importantly, giving you the actual steps, the actual 28-day guide for how to get your business started, up and running, and thriving online. And this iTunes 5-star review comes from Sully's Life, saying, love the info, love the content. I love Chris's podcasts as they are so easy to listen to, packed full of relevant and up-to-date info and honest. And Sully's Life, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So please get in contact with me, jump on Facebook, give me a message, and I will be sure to be sending you access so you can get onto the online fitness business blueprint as well. Now, to really make sure you get the most out of you being here, to make sure if you want to get the actual guides, the actual coaching workshops, whether you want to double or triple your clients, or if you want to be able to start and grow your online fitness business, head on over to chrisdufay.com. There is all the show notes from this episode, all of the podcasts and the videos as well, but the workshops are there for you as well. So if you head on over to Chris Dufay, that's Chris, DUFEY.com, you'll get access to everything. Now, enough fart arsing around, let's bring on Mark, because this is a fantastic interview that you are going to want to soak in all the way to the end. Mark Buckley, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I'm pumped to get into this because just as we were talking before I actually hit record, I think this is going to slap some people in the face with some truths with what you're about to divulge here, and I'm looking forward to it because I know you probably got a pretty good slap on you anyway, so we could get into that. Now, before we even jump into everything that I've got in here, I've got a full page of notes here that I really want to jump into and make sure we unveil your insights. I really want the listener to know, who is Mark, why is Mark so phenomenal, and also let's jump into FMA because this is something I'm really starting to get into as well.
Okay, so what in particular would you like me to start with, Chris?
Who is Mark Buckley and why he's so phenomenal? Let's start with that.
I wouldn't actually refer to myself as being phenomenal. I've always been quite a simple person that always tries to find simple ways to do things. In fact, I'd go as far as to say I'm inherently very lazy, so I love to sort of understand things and take complex systems and try to find a very simple way to troubleshoot them, and that's a passion I've always had. So FMA really represents an amalgamation of all my years of troubleshooting, the specialized fields of musculoskeletal rehabilitation and strength and conditioning, and trying to solve the big problem, which is how do we take these two very specialized areas and amalgamate them into something that has application to the field that I love the most, which is personal training. And that's really what FMA is really about.
What I love is you being able to simplify things that others do not simplify at all. And this is something we've talked about before, is people make stuff seem really complicated simply to try and confuse people and to think that it's good and to think that it's worthy. And what you're doing so well is really boiling it down so the personal trainer is able to understand concepts that personal trainers have not been able to understand before. And I think this is what's so important. And I think where I'd really like to start this with you, Mark, is a point you brought up just before with trainers not being taken seriously in the whole health and fitness industry. I'd love for you to delve into this because I think there is some real truth behind it.
Yeah, I mean, personal training as an industry is still kind of in its infancy. It's still evolving. It's still defining itself. It hasn't been around that long. I mean, it really sort of kicked off in the early 90s, as a sort of a career option. And, I kind of got into personal training like a lot of people purely because, I love to throw weights around and wanted to look good to attract the girls and stuff. And someone said, you can sort of make a career out of doing that, which sounded very appealing at the time. But unfortunately, going back, personal training was pretty much, giving people programs based on how you train yourself. And there was a big influence in bodybuilding, body aesthetics, body composition type training and things like that. So we're kind of just going around teaching a lot of people, how to do bodybuilding type programs. And it's quite funny, we'd look at it and go, so what's your goal? And it might be a body composition type goal. Okay, I'm going to train you like a bodybuilder. The next person comes in, what's your goal? Oh, it's I want to improve a target sports skill. Great, we act interested. And what's that target sports skill? Oh, I want to increase my vertical jump. Great, now I'm going to train you like a bodybuilder. Because it was kind of, it was the only tools that we had in the toolbox. And most of my education, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, pretty much just came from good old-fashioned, flicks magazines and muscle media and those sorts of things. But unfortunately, the ripple effect from that is that a lot of personal trainers really don't know how to manage the diverse range of clients that are going to come into the personal training industry today. And it's sad that it has that reputation because, one of the things I always really sort of hit home with people is sometimes it's actually easy to specialize and it's very hard to be a more general type practitioner or trainer. So what I mean by that is, I've done things like, working with coaches that train powerlifters and Olympic lifters and athletes and stuff. And, let's say you want to specialize as a trainer, like a strength and conditioning coach and work with powerlifters, like a very defined population with a very clearly defined endpoint in their training, which is, we want to have this person lift as much as they can in the three big competition lifts, squat, deadlift, and bench press. Well, it's kind of very clearly defined, as I said, and the people that tend to gravitate towards that sport are kind of well suited for the demands, the physical and mental emotional demands of that type of training. So it's quite simple to focus and specialize and take someone to their potential. Now, I'm not saying there's no need for great coaches in the area, because I've met coaches who can see things that I can't see. So, to specialize, you're still going to be great at what you do. I'm not trying to downplay, specialized coaches and stuff. But what the point I'm trying to make is that, when you're a personal trainer, you're getting such a diverse range of people coming to see you for help. And you need to have a very good, holistic understanding of, training and health and wellness and all those sorts of things. So, you're going to get people coming to see you that might be quite an active, healthy individual who just wants to get stronger. Or you might get someone that wants to get stronger and bigger, pursuing more of a body composition type goal. Or you might get someone that needs to get, stronger and leaner. Or you might get an athlete that does want to improve a target sport skill, not just train like a bodybuilder, like I said before, but actually train for something that will have dynamic carryover, dynamic correspondence to their target sport skill. And then on top of that, you might get people with similar goals, but now they're a lot older than the younger people we get coming in. So their stress recovery adaptation cycles are going to be completely different. We've got to respect age and recovery, because training is all about fatigue management. It's not just about how hard we train someone under the bar or on the gym floor. It's about how do we manage the total summation of the fatigue that they're experiencing directly through their training and indirectly based on all the lifestyle factors that's going on for that person as well. I remember Paul Chek had a great saying once when I was in one of his courses, and that was, when someone comes to see you, they don't just leave all their shit behind in the changing room and come in a fresh template, ready to go. They bring all that crap onto the gym floor.
Yes.
And the body summates stress, and your training stress is summated with the overall stress they're under that determines how much fatigue they're going to experience. And we know that adaptation or positive adaptation can't take place if fatigue exceeds your ability to recover. So we kind of factor all that in. And, and as I'm saying, on top of that, you might have, apart from elderly people, you might get people coming in who might be older, who have the same sort of endpoint goals, but now they might have an injury like osteoarthritis, or they might have had a sport-related injury, and you've got to factor in all that as well. So it's a very big way of just saying that I have the utmost respect for personal trainers, because as an industry, you have to have a very diverse level of understanding in all areas, physical, mental, emotional, nutritional, etc., that you have the tool set in place to sort of troubleshoot for the diverse range of clients that are going to come to see you. And that's why I'm thinking, it's time that people really change their outlook on personal training and start giving it, the respect that this industry really deserves. And that's what FMA is about. It's about helping that message get out there.
I absolutely love that, and I think it's absolutely spot on, especially because when you've gotten to the point now where physiotherapists are so happy to refer their clients on to FMA certified trainers. And I think that's a real testament to what the work is that you're doing, because in the world of therapists, physiotherapists, chiropractors, allied health practitioners, all these people, they do look at personal training like, it's like, and as we actually said before off air, like a glorified rep counter. And I think that's it's unfortunate, and it's something that's really, we need to turn the tide around as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I fully agree with that, and that's kind of the vision behind everything that we do.
What about let's kind of turn this around, because I think something that's really important and what you're doing so well is being able to bridge the gap between the rehabilitation side, where I find, and definitely from personal experience myself being a coach for so long, and such a large portion of that time, rehabilitation was like, shit, I don't want to touch that. Do you know what I mean? Like I could screw someone over. And compared that to the other side of strength and conditioning, where initially that was where I went down. I was like, I want to be an S&C coach, and went heavily down that path. But what's so brilliant about what you're doing is actually molding those worlds together. So I'd love to know, how did you actually come about to being able to do that so well?
Yeah, well, firstly, like I said at the start, I'm not a inherently smart man. I'm a very simple person.
I'm being way too humble.
No, it's actually, my biggest weakness, which is not being very smart, ended up being my biggest strength, which allowed me to simplify this stuff,
I like that.
So, I remember many times I would go to these lectures and just be so damn confused. Yeah, and walk away going, I don't really know what I'm going to do with this information, but damn, that presenter was smart. But it was a very disempowering experience as well. It's like I never really walked away feeling like having the confidence and competence to go off and start making changes to people. It was like, damn, I need to learn more. I actually know far less than what I thought I knew going into that damn presentation. And I kind of found that was it. It was like the more I was learning, the more I realized I had to learn, and the more afraid I was becoming of actually trying anything. You know, it was that sort of disempowering. So, you know, I remember reading you know, like I love standing on the shoulders of giants and learning from very, very smart people. And Paul Chek was one of the first big influences in my life that gave me hope as a student. Because like I said, I wasn't that smart at school, but he saw something in me that a lot of people didn't see in me. And he just saw this potential, I guess, to be able to do this type of work really well. Now, at the time, I couldn't really believe what he was seeing in me, but it was enough of a motivation for me to go, well, if he believes in me, I'm going to start believing in myself. And I started going off, and I did training with him, and then I was going off to the medical library, and I was reading all the different texts I could find on all sorts of rehab and injuries and pathologies and all that. And it was like going down the rabbit hole. I was just getting more and more confused. And I realized a big part of the confusion is because when you look at the body, unfortunately we take a very mechanistic and reductionist view of the body. So, Chris, for example, I remember that is if you look at someone standing there, and they've got a sore shoulder, well, they'll tend to get referred to a shoulder specialist. You got a sore back, you go to a back specialist. A sore knee, you go to a knee specialist. So we've sort of compartmentalized the body into these little specialist niche fields. Now, the problem with that is that if you have a sore shoulder, but the shoulder problem isn't the etiology of the problem, then you're going to miss what was causing it. So when you compartmentalize the body like that and go, where does it hurt the shoulder? Well, let's do diagnostic testing or whatever for your shoulder. You're kind of looking at the body through a straw. And I really learned that sort of understanding from Paul, where we can't compartmentalize the body. We've got to start looking more holistically. So that made sense to me because, like I said, the more you start using a reductionist approach, I find the smarter you've got to be because the more specialized things become. And, I don't like thinking like that. I like to think very abstract. Yes, I apply a lot of, logical and linear thinking, but I'm also have this ability to start thinking outside of the square, to start troubleshooting. Well, why is that happening? What could be causing that? And, Paul sort of gave me the confidence to explore the body from that means. So, I kept studying. And one of the things I did is, as I started going, there's got to be a way to make sense of all this nonsense. Because another thing is, there's referred to as what's called Gibson's Law. And it's a term that you'll hear a lot as it relates to court cases. And that is, they'll get an expert witness to come in who's got like a PhD who will go, based on the trajectory of the bullet and the entry and exit wound, there is absolutely no way this client could have shot that person. And then you get the next PhD standing there with the same sort of credentials going, based on the trajectory and the entry and exit wound, etc. I am confident that they shot that person. Right? So that's what Gibson's Law is. For every PhD, there's an equal and opposite PhD opposing, and there's so much confusion. It's like everyone's got these different views and everyone's got their science to support their views. So it was just getting out of hand. It was like, man, I'm getting more and more confused. So I just stood back and go, look, what do I do well? And that is, I'm very good at simplifying things. And I remember a quote by Einstein, which is, to paraphrase, if you know something that well, why can't you just explain it simply? And I just stepped a step back and go, you know what? I'm just getting lost in all the quantifying information, the numbers, the stats, and all this. I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to start learning from people that are actually getting results. And I'm going to start trying to amalgamate, what I'm seeing with what I know. Because at this stage, I had a lot of, understanding in terms of academic understanding, but I was lacking the experience that comes by watching good coaches train and stuff. And then I sort of branched off and I went and studied someone like Louis Simmons and spent time with him at Westside Barbell. So for the people that aren't familiar with Louis, he sort of trained some of the strongest powerlifters in the world. And that was a mind-blowing experience. I thought I knew a lot about strength training. And within 1 week, this guy pretty much deconstructed and then reconstructed everything I thought I knew about strength training. And that was a real mind thing. But it was great watching him because he didn't get absorbed or sucked into academia. He just basically had a lot of experience going, if I see this, we do this. He had that sort of understanding. And it was like, right, now how do I bring all this stuff together? And that's really what I spent, I guess, probably the next 10 years of my life trying to figure out is that how do we amalgamate and bring all these things together, simple. And yeah, we've done a pretty good job at it. I always say that my role as a teacher is to be the one that spends all the hours taking all the nonsense and trying to turn it into common sense, and then giving it to the students in a way that they can go off and start using straight away to make changes for their client. That's not their job to do that. My job as a teacher is to allow them the level of information needed to go off and start doing what they want to do. And that's not have their head in books and study and all that. It's actually get some good information that they can go use straight away to make a difference in their clients' lives. And, I wouldn't say I'm fully there yet, but, we have so far, we've pretty much done a good job at amalgamating these two fields to a point where the general consensus is that the students feel that, we are delivering on that promise.
I like that. And this is just what I'm thinking about at the moment is it's a common thread. All up, I'm actually pretty sure, I haven't counted it, but I'm pretty sure I've actually tipped over the 100 interviews over both the Ask the Pro podcast and the My Body Blends podcast. And it's a common thread that I continue to see throughout all the people that I'm getting on board that are so successful at what they do. And it's the same thing with yourself is your ability to ask better questions. You're constantly being able to ask better questions. Therefore, your answers are constantly evolving and getting better and better and better. And this is where I really like to dive into and understand the person's psychology and understand what's your internal dialogue. Like when you are watching someone and you're coaching someone or you're putting together course material, what's your internal dialogue? What questions are you asking yourself and how are you coming and evolving the material as you bring about this? So one thing I really want to kind of delve into, and I think this is so applicable to so many people, is how do you help people learn? Because I feel like the skill of learning is something that so many people don't understand, especially when they start even divulging into being able to present course material. But I think you've really started to grasp this from conversations that we've had before. So let's just jump into real quickly how you help people actually learn and continue their process moving forward. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in a split with so much more for you. Now, I know you're listening and tuning in because you know how important your health is and how this can also catapult your business. This is why I'm very happy to say that this podcast is sponsored by My Body Blends and my favorite, the superfood elixir, the powerful greens drink. Now, this is designed specially to boost energy, aids detoxification, enhances the ability to burn fat, supports healthy carbohydrate metabolism, and best of all, is voted best tasting greens drink. Now, myself and the My Body Blends team are looking for ambassadors to join. So you and your clients get the health benefits plus adding in a strong income stream for you and your business. The ambassador program, which is by application only, means you get exclusive access to sell My Body Blends products like Superfood Elixir to your clients, plus giving you the special ambassador pricing and bonuses. So once you become an ambassador, you can join the other top health and fitness players that are adding thousands to their week's income. Now, there is only a limited number of ambassadors we are taking on board, as this is a tribe leading the way together. So to apply and to join, go to mybodyblends.com/ambassador or add the checkout code that is Turning Pro, all one word, when you're going to get your own superfood elixir to order. Plus, you're going to get free shipping and a bonus to save yourself over $250 instantly. So just use that coupon code Turning Pro in the checkout and you can save over $250 right now, all on mybodyblends.com.
Yeah, well, it's a great question because, as teachers, it's something that we all ask ourselves, and that is teaching is not a platform for me to launch my own ego off to show everyone how much I know. It's about really helping students learn with the main goal or objective of any teacher is getting that student to a point where they no longer need you as a teacher. And we always say that's how you can always tell the preacher from the teacher. That the teacher looks forward to the day that the student goes off and no longer leads them. The preacher sees that as a threat or a blow to the ego, So, I'm always asking that question, how do I give my students the best learning experience. So the first one, which I always use to ground myself, is, as I said, to paraphrase Einstein, if you know something well, explain it simply. And that's how I always keep myself in check. If I can't explain something simply, I don't know it well enough. So, and I've experienced this many times teaching. Someone will ask me a question, and I'll give what I think is a really cool answer, and I see these deer caught in headlight look. And it's kind of like we often get so carried away, and we kind of forget what we know, that sometimes, we go from A to B, B to C, and then C to M, and we think that they can do the D, E, F, G connections to get to M, So we've got to start bringing things down. So that's how I always keep myself in check, and that is, if I can't explain it simply, I don't know well enough. So that's good and it's bad. I mean, to give you an example of how it can be good and bad, is that when I released FMA Level 1 in 2009, that's how I held myself accountable. So I was always looking at what the learning experience was for the students. I would find what they could do well, what they couldn't do well, and then I would modify the course to fix the gaps that I wasn't teaching well. Now, that sounds good, right? But the downside is that FMA Level 1 actually had something like around 60 different edits. All right, so FMA Level 1 sort of ran for about 3 years, and it was changing almost every month as I was fine-tuning. It started off as a manual that was like, I think, something like 180 pages, and now it's like a 20-page manual. As I just kept scrapping out things and just bringing better models of understanding and refining it. And now we've got it somewhere where I'm happy with what the students walk away with in terms of their confidence and competence and what they can use straight away with their clients. So that's how I feel teachers need to keep themselves in check. And the second thing is I believe in what's called the trivium. So it's a trivium model for learning, and it's a basic philosophy, and that is, the role of a teacher is to not really to teach as such. It's to teach the student how to learn so they can go on and become their own teacher. Once you understand how to learn and how to understand something, then you can start troubleshooting and filling in the blanks yourself. You don't give your power away to someone else who's an authority external to you, going, help, this situation we didn't quite talk about. What do I do in this context? If you teach someone how to learn, they can then go off and fill in the gaps themselves because they understand the process of education and learning.
That brings up two really good points that come like straight into my head. Because one, how many times have I walked into a lecture or a course, a seminar, a workshop or something, and at the time you're like, this is fantastic. Like, oh my God, like this person's so amazing. And you're just like strapped into the seat going, oh my God, I can't believe this is so good. But the problem is, half an hour after you walk out of that workshop, you're like, what do I do with that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is trivial stuff. But the other thing as well, in the kind of way that I look at it, and just this could help people understand the model that you're talking about, is the way I try and actually apply this as being a father now as well, is I don't want to tell my daughters yes or no. I just simply want to explain the situation so then they can decide on what they want to do. Do you know what I mean? If you do this for these reasons, the book will be ruined. And if the book is ruined, you're not going to have the book anymore. It's going to be gone. So then they understand. And it's really interesting actually watching, especially my 3-year-old now, watching her go, oh, okay. And then make the decision on herself on, do you know what I mean? What's going to go forward and what's right or wrong, rather than me saying no, yes, no, and because I totally don't want to do that.
Yeah, and that's great parenting, Chris. And if we're going to talk about learning, absolutely, and I often share this with the students. Before we can learn, we often have to take a step back and learn how to what's called self-parent. And this is a concept I learned from a very good mentor of mine called John McMillan. And, if you go right back to childhood, and because you raised how you bring your daughter up, we know that the role of the mother is to inspire and the role of the father is to validate. And children basically go into these compliant, defined relationships with their parents based on how they get attention.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we see this a lot. The father, wants the son to play football. Unfortunately, the son actually wants to be a musician or something. So what does the father do? Well, they basically don't give them any attention when it comes to their music. But if the little kid kicks a soccer ball around, so, oh, yeah, well done, and validates them.
Yeah.
And that's how we learn to give our power away for external validation. Whereas what a father's meant to do is teach the child how to both inspire and validate self. So the mother teaches the child how to inspire self, and the father teaches a child how to validate self. And what happens then is, as they get what's called the initiation to adulthood, you now have a teenager that actually knows how to self-inspire and self-validate, and they don't need to give their power away to things external to them to feel good or bad about themselves. And this is the big problem. Like I say to students, criticism and praise are both of the same energy. They both can be negative because it's both a demonstration of giving your power away. And the students will look at me and go, what do you mean? How can, if I choose to praise you, how's that a negative thing? And I go, okay, well, if I'm, say, lecturing and I throw out a couple of good jokes and you walk up and at the end of it you go, man, you were absolutely awesome. Your jokes were just on point. I couldn't stop laughing. Well, if I take that external validation and take it personally and own it and feel good about myself, I'm going to be like, wow, thanks, I'm the man right now. And the next time I lecture and I start throwing out these jokes and now I look at you and Chris and now you're not laughing. And afterwards I go up to you and go, hey, what happened, dude? And you go, oh, those jokes, this didn't work for me this time. I'm going to feel like shit now. Yeah. So the next time I lecture, it actually becomes about getting your validation. Yes. It's about, I want Chris to find me funny again. What am I doing wrong? I need him to validate me and go, Mark, you're the man, you're freaking funny. That's what drives me. And that's what's going to inspire me. And that's not what this is about. So, these are very important things that we need to teach children as, we take on the role of the parent where we teach them how to self-parent, and then we transition them into adulthood. We allow them, the role and responsibility of parenting self. And parenting self is such an important, moment for kids. It's the point at which they learn that they get to make the choice and they're accountable for the consequences of those choices, both positive and negative. And that's a very hard thing for parents to do, is to allow the children to go off and start making choices and allowing them to deal with the consequence of those choices.
Absolutely. I think to kind of parlay this across to the trainer and the health professional listening as well, I see this a lot of the time, especially in the social media world. People are looking for that validation through what they're trying to produce in the social media world. Like, this is just one concept that I see all the time, is people doing certain things, and then I come back and I ask them, I was like, okay, with your Instagram account, for instance, what's the goal of you doing and actually spending and investing time in Instagram? And they'll say, oh, it's to build my business. And I'll be like, okay, fantastic. But so why are you posting like all these photos that really aren't aligned with you showcasing your expertise, your skills and your knowledge? It's just showing that you've got a six-pack. Everyone's got a six-pack. Like, not everyone has a six-pack. So many people have a six-pack. Like, who cares? Like, no one really cares about it. Do you know what I mean? Rather, why don't you start sharing good quality content and information? And people obviously kind of like, they can fall back into doing certain things because they get more likes or they get more engagement. And it's just like, this is just one example. I'm just like, people are getting it wrong because there is that constant, as you said, there's that validation that they're constantly looking for outside of themselves.
Yeah, it's becoming a real problem, the whole social media thing. I've had many conversations with psychologists about it. As you can tell, I love studying all different fields. The big thing is, and this is why FMA has brought out the psychology and coaching course, because one of the things that we do as trainers is, we sit down with a client and we go, okay, well, what's your end point? And they'll say something that could be either, like an aesthetic-related goal, performance-related goal. But we've got to look beyond that and go, well, what's the why? What does this mean to them? And unfortunately, and it's a very sad truth, that there is so much distortion and such unhealthy relationships in this industry as it relates to food and body image and all that, that to actually help someone achieve the goal that they want and the way they want to achieve it is you're actually just adding to the dysfunction.
Yes.
That they're already manifesting in their lives.
Brilliantly said.
And one of the things I always say to my trainers is that you've got to ask yourself, why did you get in this industry and what type of trainer do you want to be? Because you're going to get people coming to you that are very broken. So most people, unfortunately, never get that initiation into adulthood, which I talked about earlier with self-parenting. So what we have is a whole lot of kids in adult bodies, and they all have these compliant, defined relationships. They all have these very unhealthy relationships with food, with themselves, with body image, and they're all looking for external forms of validation where, how they feel good or bad about themselves is how well do they marry up to the norms out there and what they're seeing in social media and all this. And I've had clients where I've sat down and I've said to them, okay, there are two ways that we can do this. We can achieve your goal, which I call the low road. Now, the low road is pretty much the quick and nasty way. We're going to put you on, calorie deficit type diets, high intensity type training. We're going to use pharmaceutical intervention or supplemental intervention, in terms of, thermogenics and fat strippers and all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
Now, the good news is it's going to be one of the fastest ways to achieve that body goal, body image that you're after. The sad thing about it, or the bad news about it, is that it is going to come at the expense of health and longevity.
This is so true, Mark. I'm so happy we've gone down this path, is because how much do we see all the time? The 12-week transformation. Do you know what I mean? So how do you achieve that? Exactly. You're saying, and I like the brilliantly worded, taking the low road. Everyone thinks to go the low road. Let's cut their calories, cut their carbs. Let's ramp their exercise volume through the roof. Let's get them to that point. But you know what I really like after the before and the after shot? What's that 6 or 12 month shot after that? Do you know what I mean? Like, where are they really at? And even like, what are their blood profiles at as well? Like, let's look at them at a holistic and say, were you able to stay in shape? Are you healthy? Are you happy? Like, I've interviewed 2 psychologists now for the My Body Blend show. And when one of them, it just struck me with what she was saying. I go, with what you're saying, I went, Vera, with what you're saying, that means 95% of the health and fitness industry has an eating disorder. And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah, the fitness industry is just an industry of eating disorder and body image disorders. But going back to that, it makes me sad because, when I lay out the low road option, and then I talk about, or we can take the high road. And the high road is a way, it's going to take us longer to achieve your endpoint or the goal. But the good news is that it comes with health and longevity. You're not basically throwing yourself under the bus to achieve a fix, like a quick goal now. And when I've explained that, I've still had girls look at me go, you know what? I don't care. I want to take the low road.
Yeah.
Now, what I explain to our personal trainers when that happens is that that's someone who's outside of your scope of practice. That's someone who needs to actually take steps backwards to start healing the wounds that they've brought forward through their childhood and other things. Because they basically have these really aggressive, compliant, defined relationships with body image and food and things like that pretty much is overriding our fundamental instinct for self-preservation and survival. These people you spell out are prepared to put themselves at risk and even compromise death, moving closer to death to achieve that goal right now.
It's so true, because the problem is, and I would say I've learned this the hard way. I initially took clients on, and especially, I don't want to throw them under the bus, but it's just the world that I've been in with kind of physique coaching, and especially, say, bikini and fitness models, is girls coming to me and already being in a drastically low-calorie diet, or diets that are just simply too far, and the problem is they just want to keep digging themselves down and down and down. And to the point now where happily for quite some time now, I've seen these cases so often, I'm like, I can't take you on board. Like, I'll take you on board, but we've actually got to reverse you out. You're not going to be competing in that show, do you know what I mean? Maybe 8 or 12 weeks down the track. Let's shoot a little bit further down the path. But you're going to get in great shape, you're going to stay in great shape, and you're going to be happy with yourself, like fulfillment inside, not just trying to step up on stage. Because unfortunately, like we've seen it all before, it's people kind of keep digging themselves down that hole, down that low road, and they absolutely ruin themselves.
Yeah, and here's the real sad thing about it. When I'm explaining this to the students, they're all sitting there nodding their heads like, we get it. But, I'll often say to them, but remember this, guys. You can't give what you don't have, and you can't share what you haven't experienced. Most personal trainers, unfortunately, come into this industry through their low road experiences. And therefore, the only thing that they know and the only thing that they can share with their clients is that low road experience. Yes. So now the personal trainers, and it's a real sort of, excuse my French, but it's a real mind F for them.
Yeah.
Because now I sit there and I go, so let's go back to the trivium and let's go back to the concept of self-parenting. If you can't give what you don't have and you can't share what you haven't experienced, then you must first learn on yourself what it means to take the high road, which means now you must take on the responsibility of parenting self and taking on choices that honor self, and learn to self-inspire and self-validate and not give your personal power away to external sources and external authorities, and learn how to manage your own energy and your own creative energy. And then you have to learn how to heal your own relationships with food and body image and all these things that you have. And I go, as a guide, so I often say, when I take on the responsibility to coach a student, I see myself basically teaching them how to self-parent. That's all a coach is.
Yeah.
Whether it's a student sitting in my class going, help me learn this, become a better trainer, or whether it's a client saying, help me achieve this goal, it's the same journey. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to self-parent. That's what a coach does. The 3 steps of the trivium, which I feel has relevance here, is step 1, it's the level of knowledge, which is the level of intellect. So the first thing I've got to do to the trainer or the client is give them the information they need to actually learn how to start making the right choices. That's the first thing. Then step 2 is the level of experience, which is the level of feeling. And that's, Chris, when I can sit all day and talk about nutrition and training and all that, but I think one thing you'll all agree is that, especially when it comes to something like nutrition, there is no recommendation that holds true to everybody. So all we can do is share basic information about relationship with food, and then it really comes down to that client or that student going off and experiencing, does that or does that not work for me? And once they've gone through knowledge and the level of experience where they go, I now know, what works and what doesn't work for me. So I no longer need to give my power away to some external source, like a person in a white lab coat saying this is a superfood or eat that. It's like when you go through that process, you get to the 3rd stage, which is the level of wisdom. That is where you become an expert in you. So I've done this enough for myself now. You'll get people, for example, saying that raw milk is a superfood and we should all be drinking raw milk. Look at Western Aid Price's information and all that, which is cool. Raw milk has a lot of value for many people. But if you drink raw milk and you get gas, distension and bloating and diarrhea, well, it ain't a superfood for you. Exactly. All right? So don't let someone take your power and go, no, you've got to have raw milk. You've got to have this supplement. You've got to, so you become an expert in you. That's the level of wisdom. Now, here's the kicker. So the students are sitting there nodding going, oh, crap, I need to really start looking at the choices I make on the high road. And here's the big thing. One of the most important things, or the most valuable thing anyone can ever ask you to do, is to ask you, can you please help me learn to self-parent in this area of whether it's food or training? And the truth of it is, Chris, is that when you get to the level of wisdom of self, meaning I've gone through, looking at knowledge, experience, to get the level of wisdom for me, and I now know how to apply this in coach self, only then do I have the ability or the experience to share with someone to help coach others. So until you learn how to coach yourself, you're not ready to learn how to coach others or to start taking on the role and responsibility of a coach for others. And this is the problem, is so many personal trainers, who have only experienced the low road, who don't know how to self-parent, they don't know how to call their personal power back and manage their own power, they don't know how to self-inspire, self-validate and make choices that honor self, yet they're taking on the role and responsibility of trying to manage the power of someone else and teach them how to make the right choices for them. And they can't do it. So this is why the industry falls over in so many areas, because like I said, it's an industry of children running around in adult bodies, all trying to play guru, all trying to play coach, all trying to take on the role and responsibility of coaching and managing others without really doing what we're all meant to do, and that's gaining the wisdom to coach self first and getting that insight and awareness before we take on the responsibility of coaching others. So brilliant. I know we could talk all day on this as it relates to food and body image and all that, but I think it was pertinent to what we're talking about. And like I said, we're bringing out this psychology coaching course because to me, this is where we got to start. If you really want to change what's happening to clients, we've got to change the personal trainers, and we have to help the personal trainers go through their own learning experience, learn the wisdom to coach self, then take on the responsibility to coach others. And that's when we'll have trainers who are actually understanding and have the experience to start helping their clients reframe unhealthy goals and move them into a high road approach to achieving, their goal or their performance mark, whatever they're after. And that's how we really start cleaning up the industry.
No, absolutely. You just said that so well. And I think that is so powerful that trainers need to understand. They need to listen to this and understand exactly what you've taken them through, because look, we can teach the best marketing methods, the best business methods, but if you're not a good coach at the end of the day, and if you can't get results with your clients, then it's all absolutely a waste of time. And that's exactly why I wanted to bring you on, because we need to get to the point of how do you become a successful coach in getting clients results? And then we can start tapping on all the other stuff. Then we can start molding it all together. And I think it's so brilliant the way that you've put that together, because that's profound. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure as many trainers can listen to this, because I feel like that's really needed. Like that's actually really profound work. All right, before we wrap this up then, Mark, really quickly, how would you define or help someone become a successful trainer under that broad strokes umbrella of a term?
Yeah, I would say, firstly, get into the industry for the right reason, and get into the industry out of a desire to learn more about yourself and heal those parts of you that are very disconnected, and get yourself to a point, where you have healed your relationship with food, your relationship with body image and all that. Because if you're going to be a mentor for someone who's going to go down the path of saying, Chris, could you please help me with my relationship to food? Could you please help me with my relationship to body image and social media and stuff? You need to be able to guide them through experience.
Yes.
Remember, you can't give what you don't have, and you can't share what you haven't experienced. And you'll never be successful. And when I say successful, how do we define success?
Exactly.
Success to me is not how much money is in my bank account. Success is how much am I giving back to the industry that I love, and actually helping people, heal and achieve what they want to achieve safely and successfully, and helping people learn a skill set that's going to help in every area of their life. And that's what I love about this whole self-parenting. When they get their head around it, and they might learn the tools, to heal their relationship with food, they then realize this is the same thing that I need to do to heal my relationship with my body image, or heal my relationship with my partner, or to heal my relationship with my kids. This is how I'm going to be a better parent, because I can share this with the children and teach them, how to self-parent. It has a rippling effect that really changes people's lives. And to me, that is what is success. So, if you think about it and go, why am I in the industry? Get in it for the right reasons. Heal the parts of you that are disconnected. Heal the energy leaks, the parts of you that you give your authority away, to external validation and things like that. And go through the process of learning how to first coach self. That is when you'll be a successful trainer, because now you're going to be someone who is ready for the role and responsibility to step up and actually help coach others. And that's how you become successful. And it's a level of vulnerability and authenticity that clients just get. They just resonate with. In other podcasts, I'm very open about my experiences. And, I'm very open with my students about how I got into personal training, partly because I took the low road. And I share my story about taking steroids and how I became a trainer that got my emotional needs met by getting other people very big, very strong quickly, recommending steroids. So I was sharing my low road experience with my clients. And it wasn't until I woke up and said, I need to heal myself if I really want to have a career where I'm going to heal and help others, or help others heal, because we can't heal others, but help other people, to grow and evolve. I need to start with me. But you know what, Chris? It's pretty damn scary looking at yourself and meeting those broken parts of yourself and taking on the responsibility of healing yourself first.
That's why so many people don't do it.
Exactly. But I can tell you guys, if you take on that commitment, because we like I said, personal, it's to me, it's like the most rewarding industry in the world. We have the ability to touch so many lives and help so many people. We need to take that serious. We need to honor that sacred relationship between trainer and client. And we honor it by not being afraid to be authentic and vulnerable with ourselves. And that's really how this industry is going to become something that people will talk about. Because, we've all experienced it, that there's a lot of people out there that have that mindset, which is, fake it till you make it. And there's a lot of people out there that, I call them the academic trainers. They can talk about everything. They know the science, they can connect the dots and all that, but they just don't have that experience or wisdom, to really have empathy and vulnerability and authenticity with their clients. And when you can have empathy and vulnerability and authenticity, and you connect at a heart level with the people that you work with, that's when you start to move mountains.
Damn, this is good. I wish I could listen to this when I first started. This is bloody amazing. Okay, brilliant. So I tell you what, I know for sure that the listener right now is really going to want to know a lot more about yourself, Mark, everything you're doing, and especially with FMA. So where's the best place for them to go now to learn more about you and what's going on?
Yeah, well, it's been great. I've been fortunate enough to team up with a really good team in Australia. and together we've officially launching, and I think the official launch date will be in September, the FMA Strength Institute. And so around September, the new website, everything's going to go live and all the courses and stuff like that. So at the moment, if you guys want to check it out, we are teaching courses and everything's ticking along, behind the scenes really well. It's just in terms of the online presence and that's all being built now. But we have a basic splash page that you can get information from and stay in the loop and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. Come September, we're going to go viral with this and start making things happen.
Excellent. All right, done. Deal. I'll make sure I pop the link into the show notes for everyone to be able to click straight on over. Mark, thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate you taking the time for myself and the listener. I'm absolutely wrapped with this, and I know that there is a very good chance that they're going to want a lot more of you as well. So I'm really looking forward to getting the feedback from this interview, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting you back on and doing another one.
Oh, thank you for taking the time to have this little chat, Chris, and next time you might wear a shirt.
No, it won't happen, mate. Thank you so much for being here, and if you've liked this episode, please share it out and make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out. Now, to really get the most out of you being here, go to turningproacademy.com/start here. There you can get access to the free coaching guide. So if you want to know how to double or triple your clients in just a few weeks, or if you want to start and grow your online business, be sure to head on over to turningproacademy.com/start here to get free access to it now. And as always, I'm so thankful for you being here, and I'm really looking forward to you joining next week in the new episode.